Hello, and welcome to Better Betting. Here are your hosts, the king of Timonium, Gary Quill, and the ruler of the replays, Eric Rubin.
Hey, and welcome to Better Betting. My name is Eric Rubin, and I'm here with my partner, the king of Timonium, Gary Quill. GQ, how be you?
Fresh from a week away from my daily grind. I'm wearing a nice yellow polo because the sun is back out. Yes, folks, for the fourth consecutive week, we're back at the spa, Saratoga, and my partner here tells me the sun's going to be out, the fields will be full, and there will be no rain.
I wish I could say that. Oh, go ahead.
But that's why we once again will be back at the spa at Saratoga, doping out the late pick five for Saturday, August 17th. And
when I first looked at the weather yesterday, when we were discussing things, I think it was yesterday, Monday, the weather looked good. There was no rain till at least Sunday. Well, guess what? Now, Saturday, it's about a 55% chance of showers on and off in the afternoon. The good thing is the sequence has 3 dirt races and a grade 2 on the turf. So hopefully if they take things off, they keep the grade 2 on and the other 3 races are on the dirt anyway. So it's only the last race we get to it that'll come off the turf. But I'm hoping it stays on because I love a horse in the last race. So I really want to get to that horse. But yeah, so we'll see. I was up at the spa last weekend. I'm heading back tomorrow, or when you're listening to this, it might already be, but Wednesday. Be up there for a few more days. Last time I'm going to go up this summer. How was your jaunt to New England with all the preppies on the coast there?
I went to New England. I went to New Jersey, and somehow I avoided most of the rain, which Hurricane Debbie dumped on the East Coast. So that was all good. But obviously, I really didn't miss much over the weekend because tons of tracks were canceling cards, moving them, and whatever. But enough of the past. Let's move forward to the future. And as promised, we will attempt to cut down the time of these podcasts, which we actually have by maybe a minute each one. So today's goal is breaking the 50-minute mark. Let's hope we can do it. So let's start right off. We're going to be going to the Saratoga Saturday card, the final pick 5 on the card, which starts in race 8, which is a mile and 1/8 allowance condition non-winners. One other than horses 3 years old and up, which have never won $20,000 other than maiden, claiming, starting, or state bred allowances, or which have never won 2 races. So there is a field of 10. And because we're doing this on Tuesday, the morning lines aren't out. So pride myself in trying to figure out who should be favorites for all you chalk players who like to get that right out of the way. So I'm not going to give you odds. Maybe Eric will, but I'll tell you the old program selections in the order of preference. So here in race 8, mile 16th, or I'm sorry, mile and 1/8 on the dirt, the GQ program selection is 6, 7, 10, 9. The program favorite to me will be Rocketeer, and ignore the man with the maroon shirt shaking his head no. We'll see how things shake out, but trust GQ. You know, do your handicapping early. You'll probably be doing your handicapping when the morning lines are already out. So comment, subscribe, tell me I'm full of it, or give me an old pat on the back. So Eric, you're on the clock. Go at it.
You know, this is tough because I do have a lot of respect for you, and I think you are knowledgeable to make a morning line more so than most people I know in horse racing. But I mean, this is an easy post time. Oh, this is an easy one. Timeout. I don't see how the 10's not the favorite. I have him at 2-1 on my morning line. That's timeout. I have nothing against. I think you said third or fourth choice. Wow. I have nothing. Yeah, there's no way. I have nothing against timeout. I think he's a very good horse. In fact, two back, he closed into what was kind of a merry-go-round race to break his maiden. Maybe I should go to him. I'm still getting used to him. We don't have numbers, obviously, on the program. I don't know why I don't want to get off on a tangent. We're trying to cut time, but I don't know why they can't just put program numbers, even if they don't have the odds up. It's like the dumbest thing. But anyway, two back when he broke his maiden. It was kind of like a merry-go-round race. In fact, if I click on it, you'll see that if you're watching, horses that were at the halfway mark, 1, 2, 3, basically kind of stayed there. Now they were the choices and didn't prove my point as much looking at that, but for the most part, speed held well. So I thought he did a good job to close. And last race, he was in a tough race. If you know Unmatched Wisdom, who is a monster or emerging monster, perhaps. So if I go to his last race timeout, you can see Unmatched Wisdom was in that race. Unmatched Wisdom got a 99, granted, on the lead all by himself, but he had already broken his first level allowance by a lot. So the curling, he was facing winners, not just winners of 1, but winners of 2, and he's coming out of the toughest race. So I mean, he's probably gonna be shorter than 2-1 to be honest. But I have nothing against him. The 10 post is tough because, as you know, they turn pretty quickly. At Saratoga, they start at the finish line, so they have a pretty quick turn. Horse has a little bit of speed, but more off the pace and could get hung wide. I was upset when I heard your morning line, GQ, because the 6-horse Rocketeer, and again, the number's not there, but that's the 6-horse. That's the horse I really like in this spot. Raced at this level last time out at 1 1/8, same distance. And he chased while 2 to 3 wide first turn, 3 wide in the second turn. Chased a very solid pace. I thought Moore's Law, who won that race, is not only a closer, but also really like Saratoga. I was up there last year when he won as well. So I thought Rocketeer ran probably the best race in that race. He was 5 clear of the third horse, D-Day Sky, was back here. So I really like Rocketeer. I like that he has speed so he can make his own trip. So in the pick 5, I'm almost definitely singling Rocketeer in this first leg, unless he's some insane short price. If he's like, 8-5 or something, which I don't see. I'm not. I have him at 3-1, and I was between 3-1, 7-2 on Rocketeer. And the only 2 other horses I just mentioned quickly. One other horse. Who was the other one you said was going to be bet? 6, then the 7?
The 7, Game Warden.
All right, so let's touch on him. Game Warden, who won't be as short as GQ said. I have him at 9-2, Game Warden, the 7-horse. He's coming out of a starter allowance, so coming out of a weaker race. I was at Monmouth that weekend, and we were watching Saratoga on the TV there, and I remember he was a 10-horse, and I wanted to single him, or I thought about it. I didn't have the I don't know, balls is the right word, but I didn't have the fortitude to single him. I singled elsewhere. That was a sequence with that sprinter. Is it Nabokov, or am I making that up? I'm not sure. That one horse who was a monster sprinter, who also won, who I ended up singling, so it didn't hurt me too much, but if I would have singled both of them, I would have made a fortune. Anyway, Game Warden ran really well, chasing a fairly hot pace going wide. So I have nothing against him, except it's a tougher race. And you saw 2 back, he kind of struggled a little bit, albeit not with an ideal trip at this level. So I don't hate Game Warden. I just think the top 2, the 6 timeout, the 10 timeout and the 6 Rocketeer are better. I think one of those 2 wins this race, and I'm going with Rocketeer as a single. Better post, more tactical speed, and I think, unless GQ is right, will be a better price. GQ, I don't know if there's anything you want me to touch upon, any other horses here, or if you want to just move on.
No, one observation I made based on the speed figures, again, for those who aren't familiar, I subscribe to Brisnet speed figures versus the rest of the world buyers. It seems like Saratoga speed figures are really inflated for this meet. They're almost like Penn National like. When a Penn National horse comes and runs at Laurel or Pimlico or whatever, you gotta kind of deduct about 8 points from it. So that's just one observation I saw when I was looking at these, pretty much really, horses improving by 15 Brisnet points, which on par would be maybe 8 or 9 buyer points. So that's all my observation here. I I'm with you as far as I like timeout, but I just thought Rocketeer was more of the horse that took money than what timeout did along his career.
Yeah, the only thing is timeout's coming out much, much, much tougher race against a horse who was a monster who took a lot of money. Just real quick, the I have just to go over my morning line real quick. The 10 timeout 2-1. I have Rocketeer 3-1. I had the 9 Donegal Surges 7-2 third choice. And nothing against Donegal Surges. Chased Drake Passage. Drake Passage who wired that field. So chased the field. The speed kind of held together. He put up a big speed figure, perhaps inflated, like you said. That was part of that Belmont Stakes Festival at Saratoga. And I don't know, Drake's Passage, I don't know if this means anything, but he came back to run awfully. It was a main track only last week, I think, or about last week, and ran awful. I didn't see the race, so I don't know if he had an excuse or something happened. But again, I don't hate Donegal Surgeons, but I'm much more confident in the 6 Rocketeer. You want to move on? Or?
Okay, good enough.
All right.
Yeah, let's move on. We'll move on to leg 2 in the late pick 5 at Saratoga on Saturday, August 17th. And it's the 1/16th mile Lake Placid, the grade 2 Lake Placid on the inner turf for 3-year-old fillies. And the GQ program selections have number 7, She Feels Pretty, as the morning line choice, followed by the 2, Grayish, the 9, Proctor Street, and then the 5, Spla a Day. What do you think, Eric?
Well,
here we go.
It started off well. I was like, all right, he's back on his game. And then, first of all, I don't think you heard of a guy named Charlie Appleby. Maybe you didn't turn the page. There's an 11 horse.
Yeah, I have, and I'm trying to see where are the group races that this horse has been running in.
All right, it's Charlie Appleby. He's gonna take money. I have for the record, I have the 7, She Feels Pretty, 2-1. I have Beautiful Love as the second choice at 3-1. I have the 10 Dynamic Pricing as the third choice at 7-2. And then I'm just looking quickly. Anyone else? Grayish, the next choice at 5-1. That's the 2 horse. And then from there. So I have just an order of favorites, not who I like. 7, 11, 10, 2. So a little different there than you, other than the 7 taking the money. So why don't we start by analyzing the most likely favorite, and that's the 7, She Feels Pretty. She Feels Pretty, if I go to her, for those watching, where is she? She feels pretty. She feels like hiding. There she is. Okay, so Sherry DeVoe's horse here with Johnny V up. Horse came off a layoff after coming in 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, missing by half a length last year. Comes off the layoff at Pimlico in the Hilltop and wins for fun on that kind of good but soft, if you will, turf course. Comes back July 6th. Here, actually, it was at Aqueduct. I shouldn't lie. July 6th was still in the Belmont Mead at Aqueduct or Baqueduct. And the horse chased or stalked a 7-1 shot who came in 2nd. That would suggest that it was a nice horse. The winner closed. What am I right here? But speed did pretty well. So other than the winner, who was Cinderella's Dream, speed did pretty well. In fact, if you're watching, I can click on the chart here. So if you look, and just because speed does well doesn't mean it favored speed. Sometimes they're just the best horses. If 2 horses go in a ding-dong battle the whole way around and they hang on, maybe they're just the 2 best. But if you look, Suggest had a relatively easy lead. She Feels Pretty was 2nd the whole way. Pin Up Betty, a 28-1 shot, was basically 3rd or 2nd the whole way up there too. Held. You can see Secret Satire kind of held the next spot. And if you look, Cinderella's Dream was the 1 horse who closed. Everyone else, basically ran the merry-go-round. That's why Cinderella's Dream next out came back and won the Saratoga Oaks Invitational, albeit at 1-5. But that horse ran a monster race. So I don't want to hold it against She Feels Pretty that she kind of chased a sluggish pace. She didn't really go by. I don't know. I'm I'm not against her here, and she has a little more speed to be tactical in a race that really lacks pace, in my opinion, on paper. So I'm not against She Feels Pretty, but there are others I like better. And I'll go to 2 horses and I'll throw to you. And then if you don't mind, I'll just wrap it up with 1 or 2 more at the end. But the ones I like are the 5 Spaladay. Where is Spaladay? I'm sorry, I'm scrolling slowly for those watching. Spaladay is coming out of a race at Monmouth. Yes, against a weaker horse. It was a stakes race, but that was not as good a race. But this race was also kind of like a merry-go-round. If I click on the chart here, you'll see that Speed did very well. Madam Mischief 2-1 tried to wire the field. The horse that was second at 29-1 held, went from second to fourth, but basically was hanging there. The 3rd place horse stayed in 3rd basically the whole time. The horse who was the 9-5 favorite was a little off the pace and couldn't close, but Spaladay did close. So again, it's more than just a chart. I mean, if I don't have time to watch replays, I'll go by that. But the way the race was run, it was a merry-go-round favorite Speed. Spaladay did a great job to close into that. The only problem is, might not see a ton of pace here today, and maybe I'll let you touch upon the pace factor if you want, although I won't put you on the spot if you don't want to. So that's the 5 Spaladay. And the other one I like at a little shorter price, probably. I have Spaladay at 6-1. I don't know if that's going to be accurate, but that's what I have her as. The 10 Dynamic Pricing I like for similar reasons. I just, coming out of the trip, 2 back in the Edgewood, I thought ran really well to win that race at Churchill Downs. And last race, I have a big plus mark next to that 82 she got last time. She got off to a slow start. She was a little rank early. And then when she was making a move, she got bumped hard at the top of the stretch and lost momentum. In fact, maybe we included replays once or twice, right? Maybe we can include a little replay here, give the people watching a little bonus. I'm going to skip ahead. It would help if I knew what number she was, but in fact, She Feels Pretty is in this race. So this was the race that we were talking about. I'm going to skip ahead. So it's a 2 horse. She Feels Pretty is a 7 for those watching. I'm kind of putting my arrow on it. I don't have fancy telestrator. Remember Mike Fratello, the czar of the telestrator, NBA? He was also the coach of the Atlanta Hawks when Dominique Wilkins played. For those who like the NBA, it used to be my favorite team. So here's the 2, by the way, over here. A little hard to see maybe, but on the outside, She Feels Pretty is chasing that very sluggish pace. So I give the 2 in that case, Dynamic Pricing, who again is a 10 today, extra credit. Now Dynamic Pricing, she already was ranked and got off to a slow start. She's on the way outside in the Klarovich red and white colors, and she's starting to gain a little bit maybe. And right here, now she wasn't moving tremendously, but she was slowly gaining. She lost a lot of momentum there, bumping in the 1. I mean, she was basically going by the 1, and you can see where she is compared to that 1. So to me, I'll let it finish out just so you can see how She Feels Pretty. Never really went by Sagesta, at the end, the head bob, whatever way. But for me, I really liked the race that Dynamic Pricing ran there. I like her probably a little more than the 5, to be honest, but I like them both. And since I think the 5, who is Spaladay, it's a Spaladay, I think, like you're going on a holiday to the spa. I think the 5 Spaladay and the 10 Dynamic Pricing are the 2 horses I want here. I might spread a little more in a pick 5, but those are the 2 main ones here. GQ, I don't know if you looked already or if you just glanced, but do you see any pace here?
No, I do not see any particular pace in here outside of maybe the 8 Ori, who didn't show any speed, but I think She Feels Pretty definitely might force the issue. I mean, to your point with the Appleby horse, even though coming out of the allowance races over in Dubai, you were referencing and showing Cinderella's Dream winning, and look who beat Beautiful Love 2 back with Dubai. And I remember that race you just showed, and Cinderella's Dream was like much the best in that race. Once she pulled out into the stretch and got clear, she was much the best. But no, the only thing that I want to point out to anybody watching and listening or whatever, this is one of these races where you have horses coming out of maiden wins, they look really good or whatever, and again, we have a graded stakes race that they can't run on Lasix. Every horse is different, yes, but Lasix does improve performance. I don't care what anybody says. So you have these horses who are now running maybe for the first time without LASIK. So I highly suggest you don't turn a blind eye to that angle. So with that, we will move on to
GQ, I just want to mention, I'm sorry, I know we're trying to go quick, but I do want to mention a couple things about some of these Europeans, if you don't mind. Beautiful Love, the 11, you mentioned about Cinderella's Dream. So you said, where's the stakes races, the group races? Well, Cinderella's Dream is a group 1 winner, a grade 1 winner. I mean, and she came in second to her. And I thought she ran really well because in that race, Beautiful Love got off to a slow start. And then I can't see what I wrote after that. But slow start plus something else. So I can't read it, unfortunately. And the third place was Frost at Dawn. Came back to win a group 3 2 races later. So Beautiful Love, I like. I mean, my only fear with her is that she's going to be a really short price, but most likely I will use in a pick 5, especially if the 6 from last race is not the favorite. And I'm leaving out a couple favorites. So I definitely like Beautiful Love. She then crushed the field. That really wasn't that good of a field, but at Maiden in Dubai. But I thought she ran really well. And, you know, for those who are wondering, she did get off to a slow start in that race. So I'm a little worried about her getting off to slow starts here. So we'll see what happens here. And then the other Euro is the 6-horse Les Rays, I guess the Kings or something. Probably pronouncing my French bad. This horse comes from way back, especially in that 6.5 furlong race, 2 back. Came from back last time. I didn't think it was the strongest field who was in the race. I thought the race's favorite closer. So could Les Rays win? Yeah, but I'm kind of against that horse. And Grayosh, I just want to touch on because I do like Grayosh too. I upgraded each of her last starts. She was a little wide last time, and the race really collapsed last time. And I thought she made an early move into that pace. So I like Grayosh too. So for me in this race, I'm spreading a little bit. I have the 5 Spalade, the 10 dynamic pricing, and the pick 5s. I'm going to use the 2 Grayosh unless she's a heavy favorite. I'm going to use the 11 Beautiful Love, and I'm going to try and beat She Feels Pretty, assuming she's the favorite. Going 4 deep. The only one I might throw in is the 1, but I don't think so. Deep Satin, who I thought ran okay, but we spoke enough, so I don't want to talk too much about the race. And if She Feels Pretty is a big favorite, again, I don't dislike her. I just feel there are others that are more upside. I didn't love her finish last race when she was up on a slow pace. I'm okay taking a swing against She Feels Pretty here, although I do respect her as a horse. So mostly 5, 10, 11, and the 2. Those are the horses I'm going to be playing around with. Okay. Thank you for letting me add.
We're on a 45-minute pace.
All right.
All right. So we'll move on to leg 3, the feature race of the day, race 10 in the late pick 5 sequence on Saturday, August 17th. The grade 1 Alabama for 3-year-old fillies. It's a $600,000 purse, and the GQ program selection has number 7 Candied as the favorite, followed by the 3 Power Squeeze, the 6 Miss Justify, and the 1 Intricate. What do you got, Eric?
Well, can you repeat the numbers there? Just the numbers.
Yes. 7, 3, 6, 1.
All right. Nah, I don't 100% agree, but the closest we're going to get. I think you're right again. Candied is definitely, well, I shouldn't say definitely, but in my opinion, definitely going to be the favorite. I put 2 to 1. I can even see 9 to 5, but I think 2 to 1 morning line on Candy, the 7 horse. Listen, she ran against Torpedo Anna. Maybe I should go down. A few of them are coming out of that race, or at least 2 of them, the 1 also. But Candy ran against Torpedo Anna. A couple things about Candy, though. First of all, she put up that big figure at Monmouth. I don't know if that was like an aberration or not. Maybe it's accurate, but came back with an 89 if you're a speed figure person in the buyers, which is very good. It's as good as anyone in the field, basically. But she didn't improve off of that last race. If you want to say she kind of bounced, but it was 6 weeks later. And you know, she still ran well. She also had a very good trip against Torpedo Anna in that race, saving ground. And she also, talking about Candy now, the 7 here in the Alabama, she also had to face Torpedo Anna, who stumbled out of the gate that day. So Torpedo Anna beat her by 4, would have been more even if she didn't stumble. So again, I'm not against Candy. I think she's a very likely winner of this race. She has a little bit of speed, not a ton, where she doesn't come from way back. So that's an advantage. In fact, I think two things at play here. First of all, the distance, being a mile and a quarter, is going to play a role, obviously. None of these horses really, I don't think, have gone that far, and some not even close. But I think who's going to get the distance, that's part of it. And the second thing is the pace of the race, because the two Chattelis, if that's how you pronounce it, who I wrote down at about 12-1 morning line from Mark Glatt and Frankie Dettori. This horse is coming off an easy lead last race that he coughed up. Now, it was off of a long layoff, so I can give him a little pass for that. But I don't really care for the horse, but the horse should have speed. And after that, I mean, I don't know where the speed is coming from. I know Miss Justify, who I'm going to talk about now, has speed. I'm just going to look at the time form. They show the pace projector. So if you look at the pace projector, they actually have the 6 Miss Justify ahead of the 2 Chattelis. So they have 6, 2, and then 5 on that pace projector. So let me go back to the formulator things here. I don't know if I actually clicked on it. Oh, I did. So they're actually saying that the 6 is going to be in front. I don't want to say it's hard to believe, but I don't think so. But maybe. I like the 6 Miss Justified for a couple of reasons. First of all, let me turn my page here. I have Miss Justified 3-1 second choice. I mean, you said Miss Justified the 6 was your third choice. You had 6. You had 7,
Power
3,
squeeze.
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
7,
So,
3, 6.
Yeah, we probably have a little. You probably have a little higher. Maybe you would have like 4-1, 7-2. I have 3-1 on the morning line. 2 back, she dueled a 9-2 shot who came in second, and speed held. So I was like, all right, she ran fine. I wasn't like, oh my god, but she ran fine. And then she goes in that Wilton last race, and I thought she ran very well. She did get a very good trip. She saved ground, but she won easily, and she was extending at the end. So if you watch the end of the race, it's not a be all end all, but the way they're finishing to me is pretty important. And they could have went around again, I think, and they wouldn't have caught her in that race. That's the way it looks. So I'm going to assume that she'll be okay for the distance. Even though the mom, Swiss Alps, is bred more, or was more of a sprinter. And I think any Sibs might be sprinters, but the Thompson number 342 for the distance is actually one of the better ones in this race. So I just think she can either, whether she dictates the pace or sits off of the 2 Chattelis. I'd rather have a horse forwardly placed. Remember, when this trainer has 2 horses, you always like the longer price, and I think the 6 will be the longer price to Candide. So I like the 6 here, but I'm not anti-7. Unfortunately, I'm a little chalky here with those 2 picks. The other ones I would consider are on the inside, I guess. Actually, that's not true. I lied. The 4 Just Basking. I know she kind of beat Poop compared to this in a way. I don't want to call them Poop because they're still nice horses, but they're not nearly as good as these horses. But she won easily. And if you look at that Tomlinson number, which I'm not a huge, proponent of necessarily, but a 410 is one of the few who could be bred to go along. So I think that Just Basking has a shot here. Obviously, speed figure wise has a shot. And then
she is bred to, as they say, run all day.
Perfect. So I have her at 6-1. Just Basking is a horse I would want to use. And then my long shot, who I have at 15-1, is Neon Icon for George Arnold and Luis Saez on the outside. And this horse ran in a race at Indiana that Chattelis, I guess Chattelis won that race. I thought Chattelis came in second. Oh, I'm sorry. Chattelis held on. So I misspoke before saying she blew it. She coughed it up for a second, then fought back gamely, I guess. But Chattelis was chased by a 9-1 shot, who was the one she beat. So the speed really held there. In fact, I have it as a big speed favoring race. So Neon Icon, coming off the pace, really didn't have much of a shot. There was really no pace to close into. Race before, I mean, she was up on a fairly slow pace, but at least she won going a mile and a quarter. And again, I just think she didn't have a shot last race. So maybe she won't have a shot again, but I think the added distance might help. And perhaps if we do get a little bit of pace, that will help as well. So Neon Icon will be my other one. So I'm leaning towards using the definitely the 6, the 4, the 6 is just Miss Justify, the 4 Just Basking, the 8 Neon Icon. And depending on what I'm doing in other legs, I know I hate to use the chalk and others. I'll probably use Candy in the 7 also. Again, I think I'm leaving out the favorite in the first leg and the favorite in the second leg. So if I'm leaving out 2 favorites, I'm okay spreading slightly, still using Candy here. So that's what I'm on. There are others, but we want to cut it a little bit. If DQ wants to talk about one of them, he can, or else, we can definitely move on.
Hey, you stole my thunder with Miss Justify. That's who I landed on here. I think that she hasn't reached her ceiling yet. She continues to improve, and she could be sneaky. But like you said, she might be second choice versus third choice, as I predicted. So we'll move on to the fourth leg of Saturday's late pick 5 at Saratoga on Saturday, and it'll be race 11, the 1 mile, $50,000 starter allowance for 3-year-olds and up, which have started for a claiming price of $50,000 or less, and which have never won a race other than a maiden or claim. And the GQ program selection is the favorite will be number 3, Yo Daddy, followed by the 6, Have You Heard, the 4, Who's the King, and then the 10, Pursuit of Power.
Well, GQ.
Yes.
I can't say I agree with you.
Have you ever?
No, well, once in a while. I think there was that time back in 2021, if you remember.
Maybe, yeah.
That
Yeah,
one
it was
day.
a Wednesday. It was a Wednesday.
Yeah. You know how I knew it was some pigs flying outside my window, so I kind of remember that we agreed. I think there's 2 horses that are going to be the favorites. You have one of them, the 3, Yo Daddy. I actually think might be the second choice. I put 5-2 morning line, and then I put 2-1 on a horse. So I don't even think you mentioned the top 5. I don't know how we got this much different.
Yeah, that would be difficult since I only mentioned 4 horses in my top.
Well, I don't think you would have been in your top 5 either. I was so upset that I didn't hear your last horse, but I think it was a 10. So apparently the 7 Unlimited.
I know the 7. Yeah, I know.
Now maybe
7.
the buyer is just higher than the Briz number, and that's why the morning,
No, in actuality, the Briz Power ranking is number 1. But yeah, that's shame on me. I totally skipped over the 7 once I decided not to make the 7 the favorite.
All right, no problem. Yeah, I have heard I'm sorry, is the favorite at 2-1, and I have Yo Daddy at 5-2 for what it's worth, the 3 horse. Again, when people are listening to this, because morning lines will come out Wednesday around noonish, so for the most part, people listening to this will or watching it will already have the morning line, so I can look stupid or you can look smart. Who knows? That did happen once. That happened once too. You're looking smart there. Just kidding. We love each other, believe it or not. Anyway, so let me ask you a question. Actually, I wrote this down to ask you because the Briz figures for this race. Now, the last race that Yo Daddy was in on July 27th, a lot of horses are coming, or a few horses are coming out of that race. It was a race that Game Warden, who came up earlier in the podcast, who was running in one of the earlier legs in the sequence, he was in. It came up abnormally fast, I thought, for that level. Horses in that race have been running like 78s, like in the 82, like Game Warden was around 82 by a horse. And then all of a sudden he ran like a 90 something. Yo Daddy ran a 90. It's not impossible they stepped up, especially Yo Daddy being a 3-year-old improving. Is the Briz net number for the 3 Yo Daddy much higher than everyone else? Because if it's hard to scroll here maybe, but I mean, we're talking about mostly horses getting 70 buyers in this race.
Well,
90.
If you were listening to me in the first race talking about which Game Warden is in, my observation was Saratoga's speed figures are inflated. And this is another example you pointed out. I mean, Yo Daddy got a 101 Brisnet, whereas his lifetime best was back on February at Fairgrounds in a $50,000 non-winners at 2, where he got a 88 Brisnet. So that's a 13-point difference. And his previous race, but they're turf races. But anyway, no, he's not the only one. In fact, your morning line favorite, Unlimited Potential, got for that 16,000 non-winners at 2, got a 100 Brisnet And the uh his previous lifetime career best was 3 back at Keeneland when he broke his maiden, got an 89 Brisnet. So
Well,
that's why I said these Saratoga numbers are, boy, when they go back to Belmont or whatever, you're going to look at horses, and these Saratoga horses are going to be way over bet based on these speed figures.
well, let me like Pursuit of Power. So, speaking of, Yo Daddy got a 90 at the same level, a 50,000 starter allowance, 90 buyer. Pursuit of Power last race, a 10 horse, got an 83 buyer. So I'm trying to compare like to each
Brisnet, other. Got
Was
a
it
91 Brisnet, which is 10 points less than what Yo Daddy got.
all right? So it's somewhat similar, right? Because a 90 buyer and 83. So all
Yeah.
right. So while they all might be inflated, I just want to see if that one race compared to other
They're
races,
consistent.
Saratoga's. Yes.
Yeah,
All
they're
right. So Briz
consistent.
is consistent with Buyer. They might, GQ might be right. I don't really have an opinion on that about you know, being inflated. I just want to see compared to each other. So anyway, let's start with the two favorites real quick. Unlimited Potential. They're the horse who beat nothing last time. Had an easy lead, went ahead, and they had no chance catching this horse. Was never in a threat against Weak. The thing is, normally I would bet against that horse. The thing is, I mean, he ran against allowance foes. Well, first broke his maiden, but in a maiden special weight, so it wasn't a, you know, bad field rate like that. In fact, Reynolds Chanu, who was a 90 buyer. I've never done this. Can I just click on this horse? Nope. So if you look at Reynolds Channel, I don't really have to do this, kind of wasting time, but Reynolds Channel came in second to Unlimited Potential. Let's come back and run. From there, ran a 62 next out, but I think had some trouble, but then got an 88 and 90. So you're talking about quality horse that he ran against. I'm not going to go through the whole field there. So he's done it against good fields, Unlimited Potential. So I'm not against Unlimited Potential in this spot. I think he's going to be in a, you know, stalking spot, if not on the lead. He's got speed. I think he's got a very good shot at winning this race. I'm not against Yo Daddy, who I liked last time, who I think is going to be around 5-2, ran in this race last time. The only thing is, while Yo Daddy bobbled last race out of the start, as it says in the PPs, really didn't hurt him. I didn't think he didn't lose any position. It wasn't that bad of a bobble, I didn't think. So he also had a fairly good setup. So out of the two favorites, I prefer the 7 over the 3, which usually I don't like the horses that have the easy leads, but I do. Plus, I like speed horses better than closers. Yo Daddy's a closer, again, with a good setup. I don't hate Yo Daddy, but I like the 7 better. The horse I like the most, perhaps, and it's more because of the odds. I mean, the 7, I think, is tough. Now, the thing about the 7 is he's claimed from Pletcher to Kenner Mossy, who's, you know, a successful claiming trainer in New York for the last couple of years. So I don't know if that means anything, but, you know, I don't think so, but perhaps. But the horse that I like for the odds is the 9. I just got to look at the name, Special Dispatch, because they're not listed here. So Special Dispatch came out of that same race that Game Warden came out of and Yo Daddy comes out of. That was the day I said earlier I was at Saratoga. I was watching the race. And if you look, and again, it's not just the chart, but Have You Heard, who's here, was first. Special Dispatch was second. Who is the King was third, a quarter of the way or halfway through that race. And they all kind of faded a little bit. And it was all the closers, including Strapped, who was 11-1, who came and got the top 3 spots. And Game Warden, I wouldn't even call it closer. He was really stalking 4 wide on the outside. That's why I thought he ran really well that day. So to me, Yo Daddy got a pretty good setup, and the speeds were up against it a little bit. And when you look at the speeds, why Special Dispatch do I like the most out of those 3? Well, he was chasing the 3-1 shot, Have You Heard, who we see where he finished 5th. And he actually led at the 8th pole. So I thought he took the lead for a brief split second. This is Special Dispatch. And I just thought he ran the best of the speeds, even though he ended up fading because he made that strong move. I also liked him the most going into that race because 2 back, he got the 74 buyer, but I thought he ran a good race. I upgraded that for whatever reason. I didn't write the reasoning down, unfortunately, but I upgraded that last race too. So I know I bet him last time. The 10, Gabe Warner was my top pick. This is my second pick. And I didn't think he disgraced himself. The fact that he faded some, you're losing Pratt, I think all that will help the price. So do I think he's the most likely winner? Of course not, but I like Special Dispatch for the price. So I'm really leaning towards spreading in this race. Yes, I'll be using the 7 though, which I know some people will not like if I say I'm spreading unlimited potential. Using the 9 definitely, and that is the horse I just talked about, Special Dispatch. And then the other horses I would use are the 4, 6, and 8. 4, again, if it had numbers, it would be so much easier. 4, I'm not going to talk about each one, but 4, Who's the King? 6 is Have You Heard? And the 8 horse, Storming Chrome, I also like a little bit. I hate just throwing out names and numbers, but the way I approach a race when I'm betting a pick 5 specifically is like, all right, do I like the favorite or favorites? Am I going to narrow it single? Or do I think anything can happen? And if so, I want to go as deep as I can to make sure I get the winner. So I'm hoping you're right and Yo Daddy's a favorite. I'm going to try and beat Yo Daddy a little bit here and spread fairly deep. So whether I go 4 deep or 6 deep or 7 deep, I'm almost inclined to use almost all if Yo Daddy's that short of a price. My only problem of going that deep is I'm not against the 7, who I think is going to be the favorite, but there'll be like co-favorites there. So it makes it a little tougher here. I'm singling the first race. I'm probably going to single or go too deep at most in the last race. So I'm able to spread a little bit in the middle legs here. So that's the way I'm approaching this race. But most of the 9, Special Dispatch, if I bet vertically, I'll key around him. That's
my only observation is there seems to be plenty of pace in here. So is it going to be the same scenario as you pointed out with Special Dispatch?
Yeah, I mean, it is a mile instead of a mile and 1/8, which I think changes things too. Some of these horses will appreciate that. So maybe it helps the speed a little bit where they don't show as much speed.
Yeah, and not that unlimited potential will not be on the lead or whatever, but he's been used to going mile and 1/8, a little further distance, so it's easier to get the lead, and so he might need to be hustled a bit more early if that's the intent to try to take the lead. But I think it'll definitely be a contentious pace. So I really didn't look into this race that deeply to provide an opinion other than my observation. So if it's okay, we will move on at the 40th minute to the last leg of the pick 5 for Saturday at Saratoga. Race 12, 5 furlongs on the turf, state bred maidens for a purse of $90,000. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds, and upward fold in New York and approved by the New York State Bred Registry. And the GQ flawed, obviously, based on the ruler of the replay, the way he's been butchering my program selections for the first 4 races. We'll follow through with program selection being number 6, Naughty Destiny, followed by number 3, Heart of the Night, number 8, Barefoot Disco, and the 5, Beautiful Thief. What do you
I hope you're right. I'm not voting against what you said.
Have your bomb is not one of those 4.
No. It is one of the 4. The horse I like a lot, but it's the 4th one. So hopefully I get the best price.
Okay.
To me, there's going to be 3 horses bet the most. And that's the 3, Heart of the Night, the 5, Beautiful Thief, and the 6, Naughty Destiny. I think you had them at 1, 2, and 4, or 1, 3, and 4, something like that in your morning line order. So not totally different than what I have. And I put Barefoot Disco, the 6 horse, the 8 horse at 5-1. The others between like 5 and 2, 3-1, maybe 7-2. And then after that, I think it's going to jump up to anyone else. So if you don't like one of those top 3 or top 4, you're going to get definitely well into the double digits, I think, on everyone else. There are 2 horses I like mostly, and I'm only going to go 2 deep here. And I'm hoping I don't have the 2 favorites, but I think I might have one of them. So I'll start with Beautiful Thief, the 5 horse. Beautiful Thief has only 1 race under her belt, but she dueled a 5-1 shot who came in 8th that race in a nice speed duel. She ran really well, I thought, to put that horse away. Where other they were way ahead. It was a huge duel. In fact, I know we're trying to get it 4 minutes or less this race, and I won't be long because I'm only talking about basically 2 horses. I'll show a quick replay of that race. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit for those watching. If it wants to load, there we go. So the 6 and the 8, and you can see Beautiful Thief took maybe you couldn't see, but took a little while to get there too. So it wasn't like she shot out of the gate and had that advantage. But they weren't well ahead, but they were a decent amount ahead. So it's a little dark there to see. But those two are really going at it in the end. 5-1 shot who fades to eighth. Heart of the Night, you can see there is the 3-horse. The reason I don't like Heart of the Night is because look at that perfect trip that Heart of the Night sat. I know I didn't show the whole thing, but Heart of the Night just sat off of that duel and should have just been able to cruise by and really didn't. I'll let it play out to the end just for those who are watching. The one horse who sat off the duel strictly tied was snuck through the rail and won. Go ahead, GQ. What were you going to say?
Oh, that's because Heart of the Night's doing her best Casa Creed impersonation. Hanging.
Oh, you shouldn't go there because one of us was right about that horse. But anyway, we won't revisit that now. One of my favorites, Casa
Creed. Take Casa Creed out of New York and
Oh, she only won in what, Dubai?
But no, I was going to say, Heart of the Night is your typical hanger, seconditis, whatever you want to call it. You just showed had the perfect trip and still couldn't get by horses. That's because the horse has a herd mentality. It's okay to just loaf along. It doesn't have the killer instinct.
Perhaps also maybe just not that good. But anyway.
Let's put it this way. If you use Heart of the Night on your horizontal, shame on you.
All right. Well, I agree with you. That? There you go. Boom. How do you like them apples? The Heart of the Night, that was a good one. I agree with you. I'm not using the horse. Not that the horse can't win, although GQ said can't win, but I wouldn't even use her second or third in this race. I just think it's not improving and had perfect setup and 2 in a row, really. So I'm against Heart of the Night. Big duel 2-back. That's what I was referring. Sat off an even bigger duel 2-back and couldn't go by. So I'm off Heart of the Night totally. So I'm using the 5 Beautiful Thief. And the other horse I'm going to use is the I just got to look at the numbers. Barefoot Disco is number 8, I guess.
Yes, number 8.
So this horse who ran last year at Saratoga, didn't embarrass herself, saved ground. The speed figure wasn't big, but she wasn't a 2-year-old and young 2-year-old, July. And she saved ground. It was kind of an even pace race. I don't think it favored closers or speed. And, she saved ground and ran fine. I mean, nothing crazy, nothing amazing. But for a first time starter, that was fine. Then she comes off the layoff last time. And I didn't use her last time off the layoff. She was 12-1. But I got to read what it says here. But all long shot, there was no pace in that race, like no pace. She was off a layoff. And I really liked another horse who tried to close and couldn't. So at the same time, I'm not going to pull up the chart. I didn't write the name of that horse down, of course, who came in 5th or 6th. But I really liked that horse. It was actually a single, like 10-1 and didn't do anything. But anyway, Barefoot Disco, I just thought between the layoff and the lack of pace that race, I think is in a much better position to step forward off of that. And I really like this horse. So I have one speed horse in Beautiful Thief. And if it gets a little dicey up front, I got Barefoot Disco to close up. Those are my only 2 that I have any interest in using in this race. I am not using anyone else. So I'm starting off with a single on that Brad Cox horse, the 6 horse, who I think is going to be around 3-1, hopefully at least 3-1. And I'm ending with 2 horses, who, between 3-1, 5-1, something like that, 9-2. So that's where my leans are. When I'm looking at a pick 5, I want to see what races am I going to kind of lean on, meaning I'm going to take a stand on. And those are definitely 2 I'm absolutely taking a stand on, the single in the first leg and the 2 horses here, and that's it. And then I'll see in the middle with, some spreadies. But I have it's not going to be a right opinion per se, but this is one of the few times we actually went on a podcast or any telecast here. And I actually had some strong opinions about the races. Again, I could be way off. That's my opinion, but that's how I see the races playing out. And hopefully for my purposes, I'm correct. GQ?
So since you have Barefoot Disco up there, the trainer statistics along the bottom line there.
Yep.
You see where it says turf 32, 3%?
Yep.
No, the next one over. Not turf sprints. But yeah, turf sprints are just as bad. 0 for 14 and 1 for 32. I assume that's this year because Brisnet gives you like the last 3 years, I believe.
I don't know. I think it's 5 years, to be honest.
For Brisnet?
No, for DRF, I think. Because when I click on time frame, it already has past 5 years, checked off.
Okay.
So I think. I don't know. I mean, it appears to be that way.
Well, Brisnet statistics show 74 starts, 1%. So that's basically 1 win in 74 starts. And I always believed that it was 3 years. Maybe it's further if your statistics show over the last 5 years, 32 starts. So
Yep.
it may be 5 or more years.
Yeah.
But anyway, so not take you off of barefoot disc. I mean, the encouraging thing is that Pratt stays on the horse. And the encouraging thing, which I was kind of surprised the horse didn't take more money, because as you know, Pratt on the turf, people would just, bet the horse just because of that. It was like the IRAD factor. So I guess the horse got 12-1 simply because of Pratt. So as you said, it was no closers were closing, but yet this horse closed some ground. So
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
And if you look at, he's not often a favorite. He's only had in 5 years, Charlie Baker, 4 horses that have been 3-1 or less, and 2 of them won. So when he has the horses, he can do it. Again, it's not a good number, but I'm not as big a stat guy as some other people, and he's a good trainer, Charlie Baker. So I'm not too worried about that. And maybe it'll help the price. All the stat geeks will get off, and the computers will get off of him.
It sounds good.
All right, we good?
You're under your limit. Not actually the 45, but I think within the next minute, we'll be under 50.
I think we're at 51 if my watch is correct. So I was trying to wrap it up the last one, but we'll end it there then. I know people want to hear us riff for another 20 minutes, but sorry guys, you'll have to wait.
Subscribe, please subscribe.
Absolutely, it really helps us. I appreciate if you can spread any word. If you feel it's worthwhile. We enjoy doing it, and hopefully it's helping. It's not just to tout horses, but to help you see what we look at, and maybe it helps you become a better handicapper or ticket constructor, whatever it is. All right. So with that said, if I can figure out the screen and stop sharing, we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much. Enjoy what's going to be a beautiful week of Saratoga until the weekend. Hopefully we get some luck on the Saturday card. Sunday looks like a washout, but maybe we'll get lucky Saturday that stays on the grass. All right. Have a good week, all. Good luck. Ta-ta.